Hello, everyone. I'm excited to be back at Startup Grind. It sounds like it's been a grind for me over the last couple of years. I've been working hard to make it all the way to the main stage, so thank you for making it happen for me. So, as you heard, I'm a partner at General Catalyst. We're in the business of partnering with ridiculously ambitious founders who hopefully have what it takes to build the category-defining company in their space. We have offices here in New York, Boston as well. And we are multi-stage. We write checks that range from $500,000 to $150 million. So over the last few years that I've been a VC, it's almost been 10 years now, I've developed an approach of what I'm looking for when it comes to the founders, that we're investing in. So let's start with that, I don't care how you look like if you're a founder. I've been saying that. I also don't care what your accent is like. My accent is very funny and silly. I don't care where you've worked before. I also don't care which school you went to or maybe you managed to drop out of. But let's assume that this is something that all of our peers and competitors have been doing over the last decade. And it's been a lot about influencing everything that the Silicon Valley has been building. And I think it all started with Uber Black. And this was a company, a product sponsored by Uber about 10 years ago. And it was focused on the top 5% of the earners. And I think this was like a key defining moment of all the companies we've seen get built here in Silicon Valley over the last decade, that a ton of them, the consumer-facing ones, have been focusing on the top 5% of the earners. And helping them either make more spending decisions with their money or be more lazy. So then we started adding some other products that can help us clean our homes or clean our clothes. Then we took it a step further. We started investing in companies that brought food to every one of us for like $100, for like a pita sandwich. Then we even took it a step further because the top 5% of earners have been doing really well over the last decade. So we've created companies that are offering on-demand planes and helicopters, and even bring gas fuel to our cars, which is like freaking unbelievable. So then afterwards, we added some luxury places to stay because with all this money, we have now the ability to stay at really cool places. And a lot of these companies and the services are probably here to stay. Not all of them, but a lot of them are here to stay. But the world is not just about what the top 5% of earners is going to be spending their money on and be more lazy. And we VCs now have a ton of capital, and we've been subsidizing that lifestyle. But it feels like that things are changing. Even SoftBank today, they've been slowing down their investing in this kind of businesses, so if it can serve as a leading indicator. I'm very excited about that. And Paul Graham said this about a decade ago, that the very best startup ideas tend to have three things in common. They're something the founders themselves want, that they themselves can build, and that few realize are worth doing. I think we talked about the first couple of points with some of the examples I highlighted before. But in my mind, in 2020, where we are right now, the third one is the key point. The next wave of innovation has to be for everyone. And as a result, the next wave of founders and innovations and innovators have to look a lot more like everyone else from all over the world with very diverse backgrounds and life experiences. So obviously, whatever you're doing, if you're founders, you got to build for yourself. But today, in 2020, you got to be building for yourself, especially if you have an outsider point of view. And that's important. If you're based here in the Valley, you go to Stanford or all the other fancy colleges, the echo chamber is like messing up with your mind. We only talk about crypto, SDKs, APIs. Like that stuff is not relevant for most of the world. So if you're an outsider with an outsider point of view, probably you know which technologies the majority of the people would need. Also, you have a much better idea of what kind of problems that few people here may have, and they also realize that's worth doing. So I think that's a really, really big opportunity, because when you're solving problems from Main Street, you have huge potential for impact and success. So that's a space that personally I'm the most interested in, and I've been investing along the way over the last couple of years. It's a space where we're helping individuals make more money, be more lazy, doing the same for small businesses. In general, investing in startups that can connect people to work opportunities, also making it easier to run their businesses. So at GC, we've made a number of such investments. You're going to hear from Josh from Gusto, which is a leading SMB payroll and benefits company, in like 10 minutes. We've invested in Fundbooks and Household Pro. All of them are helping manage the SMB back office. We've invested in Digit, which is a really cool product that's helping consumers with financial literacy and saving money. I've even backed a company that is helping locksmiths really make more money and be more lazy and manage their business on their own terms. That got started by a former locksmith. So if you had said to me, you're going to come to Silicon Valley to invest in a locksmith who's building a product for others like her or him, I would be like, you must be, freaking nuts. And then did even something more crazy. Invested in a married couple in a company that got started by a nurse, helping nurses make more money and have more flexibility. And in the Valley, we've always said, investing in married couples is never going to work, because if one of them doesn't scale, how are you going to figure out how to fire, one of them or both of them as an investor? So all these companies are showing really, really strong signs of product market fit. And I do believe that this is the kind of companies that we're going to be seeing a ton more over the next decade. So this is the opportunity for starting companies as well as investing. And why is this happening? It's happening because there has been a big shift over the last few years. Today, Silicon Valley is a mindset. You do not have to be here in order to be successful. You can read about the lean startup methodology. You can read about how we are hyping up novel technologies here with all the cool marketing and growth hacking stuff we've been doing. You can read about that stuff on TechCrunch, on Hack Your News. You can come to events like Startup Grind. If you're lazy, you can even watch some of this on Silicon Valley, the show, on HBO. So the question is, can you learn from all this stuff how to iterate rapidly on the product front, like historically Silicon Valley companies have been doing? Can you, most importantly, get hold of just one mentor who is uber connected over here, so you can have access to the entire network of Silicon Valley? That's all you need to do. So the best combination is bringing the outside point of view that you have, and then build the companies with that Silicon Valley mindset. As I mentioned, you don't need to be here. You can have a remote team. We at Silicon Valley, I think it was last year, if I'm correct, that we found out that remote teams can work, and that's a good way to build companies. And we only found out about that because it's really, really expensive to hire engineers over here, and most of them are mercenaries, and every year they move to another place. But remote can really work for the company building. So if you're the outsider who builds like Silicon Valley, but for what's important for outside of the Valley, I think that's a ticket to becoming very, very successful. Please solve real problems for massive, massive markets. And as I mentioned, there has never, ever been a better time to do this. So as I'm reflecting on these thoughts, I had to basically revise my mantra of what I'm looking for in all the founders I'm meeting with. So now I do care how you look like. I do care about your accent and how you sound. I do care a lot about where you worked before. I also care about which school you graduated or even dropped out of. But the difference this time around is that the more you don't look and sound like Silicon Valley, and the more you can show that you can understand the point of view of the 95%, the more I want to hear from you. And this is a moment in time where things are changing. And things are changing because a ton of founders from all over the world have woken up. They have the Silicon Valley mindset. They can have access to capital because here we've become the startup financing capital of the world, and build their businesses. Build the businesses the way that they want, with like remote engineers, build the businesses with people that look very differently than historically the talent that you see in Silicon Valley companies. In fact, actually, this presentation was inspired because I met a young founder about 2 weeks ago, and she's not from here. She's from outside of the Bay Area. She doesn't sound like anybody that I normally meet during the 10 meetings I do with founders every day. And I hopefully will manage to win a very competitive Series A round that she's raising today. And I'll go and meet her later tonight and give her a term sheet. So with that, if you sound like this kind of person, please contact me. Here's my email address. Thank you for your attention.